Hi, my name is Bree and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Breezy Banter, a place where I talk about the things I want to talk about. In today's video, I want to do another anti-haul. I have a few up on my channel already, but an anti-haul is really a way for me to talk about new releases and stay informed as to what's going on in the beauty community, but without necessarily spending my own money. And in turn, I hope to encourage you to do the same. So you might notice that I'm in a different filming location and my voice probably sounds a little weird. That's because I've been quite sick over the past 2 weeks, which is also why I haven't had any uploads. This should really be a one-off situation. I had actually pre-filmed quite a number of videos before I actually started my YouTube channel, but I was really excited when I first started that I just kind of posted a whole bunch right at the beginning. I wish I had kept some in my backlog. I didn't do that, so I didn't have anything that I could post, and it was really difficult for me to talk. So all of that to say, if I sound a little weird, it's because I do. Hopefully that should get better within the next couple of videos. And I really appreciate your patience with me as I didn't upload when I wanted to, and because I don't sound so great. I'm also not in my regular filming location, so light, sound, all of that, not great to begin with, and probably even worse now. But I didn't want to wait even longer to film another video, so we're just gonna make it work. On top of that, I also filmed this video one time already, and for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to want to upload to the video editing software that I use. I can't figure out what the issue is, so I'm re-recording it. So if I'm going kind of fast, or if this video seems rehearsed, it's just because I've gone through this one time already. So all of that to say, when I do my anti-hauls, I typically go to Trend Mood on Instagram. I'll include a link to that account down below. And occasionally I might pull from some other sites as well if I'm already aware of other releases that I want to talk about. In this case, I don't think there are any. We'll be looking exclusively at Trend Mood. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the Rare Beauty new True to Myself Tinted Pressed Finishing Powder. I think this looks like a pretty solid release. I personally don't really use finishing powders. I have two. I have one loose powder from ColourPop that I got surely like 6 or 7 years ago now, and I have one from Hourglass. I believe it's a mini, and for some reason it's in my head that I got it for free. Maybe it was like a birthday gift one year or a free gift with purchase. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll be honest, I reach for those less than once a month, probably closer to like 3 or 4 times a year, and it's generally exclusively if I do my makeup and I already look somewhat oily. My skin type is normal leaning oily, so very occasionally if I haven't prepped my skin properly or if I'm trying something new, it's possible that right when I do my makeup it's looking a little oily, but that's so rare that I just don't tend to reach for them. So all of that to say, I won't be purchasing this release. I think it looks like a good one. However, it is $30, and I feel like finishing powders are a makeup product that a lot of people go through pretty quickly. So that seems like it's on the more expensive end, particularly for Rare Beauty, who I associate very much with kind of a mid-range, or with a mid-range price point. One thing that I've seen people mention, and it reminds me a lot of some of the Rose Inc releases, is that the compact looks like a toilet seat. I can't unsee that. It wouldn't detract me enough to prevent me from purchasing it if I was a pressed finishing powder user, but I'm just frankly not, or at least not a common enough one. So I won't be purchasing this. I don't hate this release, but I feel like for makeup items that you might go through relatively frequently, finding an item that is less than $30 is probably advisable, but it's still not a ridiculous price or anything. The next product that I want to talk about is the new Rouge Louboutin Lubabelle lip oil. I wonder if that's what's called, the Lubabelle. It's kind of funny to me. So I have to say, I think it's quite interesting that for all of the dupes that we see nowadays, particularly from say e.l.f. and ColourPop, we'll talk about one later in this video, it's interesting that the Louboutin compact or container like doesn't seem to be duped ever. I don't think I've seen it, which is not to say that it hasn't been duped. It just seems like it's, for whatever reason, like quite unique. And I'll be honest, when I see the Louboutin packaging, to me it's so unique, and so it seems luxe to me, that it feels like, in terms of getting a luxury experience, I feel like looking at this item, it looks luxe. That said, I would never purchase an item solely because of the packaging. These lip oils are $69 at Harrods, which I believe is a London-based drugstore. I know I've been to a Harrods before, but it was like over a decade ago now, and it was in London. So it's a European, I guess, department store, not a drugstore of some sort, and it's $74 on their website. I'm not sure why it would be more expensive on the Louboutin website, but it is. That said, if you have the money to spend $69 on a lip oil, by all means, don't let me be the one to tell you not to do it. However, I think for us plebs, I think $69 for a lip oil is rather steep. There's another lip oil that we'll talk about later that is $60 cheaper than this one that I suspect you'd get a very similar end result. If you are purchasing it for $69, I just have to imagine that you're doing it for the compact itself, which again, props to you if you have the money to do so. I think the colors look quite nice. I like poppy bright colors for the lips. So I like that there's just kind of like almost a pure orange, it looks like. I feel like Christian Louboutin is probably one of the few luxury brands that seems to do quite bright, vibrant colors. So I don't know, like to see it. I'm not going to spend $69 on a lip oil probably ever in my entire life, no matter how good it is. So the next items that I want to talk about are the Blush and Lip Serum by Makeup by Mario. And I have to say, I love these colors. I won't be purchasing them for a few reasons. The first is the lip serum. I quite like the compact. It reminds me of the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Vinyl, I believe it's called. And I like the colors. Again, I like poppy colors. So there's kind of a vibrant pink. There's almost a pure orange. It looks like kind of a cherry red. I like to see it. I'm just not exactly sure what this would give me that I would want from it. I feel like I have the lip colors that I enjoy and use, so this wouldn't add anything to my collection. And then similarly for the blush, I love the blush colors. Similar to lip colors, I love vibrant, bright blush colors. One of the reasons it's so easy for me to say no to releases by, I don't know, the Kardashians is that they lean so heavily into the neutrals, into the browns. And aside from brown eyeshadow, I don't think there's anything in my collection that could be called brown. So seeing colors like this that are just bright and fun, especially for the summertime, I like to see it. I also feel like I've seen quite a few reviews of these blushes and they're generally well received. So this isn't a new product. They're releasing additional shades. And as I've said in several videos before, what I am really looking for is a purple cream blush. So had they had a purple cream blush, it would probably be quite a strong contender for me to pick up, but they're not. They're releasing other fun colors, which I love to see, but they're not for me. The next item that I want to talk about is the Erase It All Makeup Cleansing Balms by Garnier. And I love this release. I personally quite enjoy a cleansing balm. My preferred method for removing my makeup is to combine a micellar water with a cleansing balm. I find it's just quite effective, and for whatever reason, that method just doesn't seem like a lot of work to me. And I find that if I enjoy the removal of my makeup, or provided I don't hate the removal of my makeup, the process of removing my makeup, then I'm way more likely to actually do my makeup, which is kind of interesting to me. I feel like, for example, if I'm traveling and I have a travel size of a micellar water, I'm probably going to do my makeup most days. Whereas if I don't have that, if I have to rely on, say, a more standard, let's say cleansing oil of some sort, chances are I'm probably going to do my makeup like 10% of the time. And I'm not sure why that is. It's just something that I've noticed over time. So aside from that, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like there are that many cleansing balms at the drugstore. I know I used one from e.l.f. probably like 3 or 4 years ago now. I remember enjoying it. However, e.l.f. isn't readily available to me, so if I plan on using it, I have to order it. And there's often just not enough products that I want at one particular time from e.l.f. for me to hit the free shipping threshold. And once I start incorporating shipping fees, the American to Canadian dollar conversion fee, all of that, the drugstore cleansing balm suddenly becomes a lot less drugstore priced. So I did use it. I enjoyed it. I actually just finished up a cleansing balm that I had from pharmacy. It was a sample, but it lasted me quite a while, and it was good. But I also just don't want to spend that much money on a cleansing balm for something that's just going to stay on my face for like 30 seconds. I have 2 other cleansers that I need to work through before I purchase something else. So I have a Tatcha cleanser. It's not a cleansing balm. I think it was like the birthday gift maybe last year. And then I have one from Clinique, which is also a sample size, but it's a fairly hefty sample size if I'm not mistaken. So I suspect that will carry me through at least several months, if not towards the end of the year. So once I use those up, I don't want to have these products just sitting in my bathroom for storage. But once I use up the products that I do have, I think this is a very strong contender in terms of what I would purchase next. And it's $15, which is definitely cheaper than, for example, the pharmacy one that I mentioned earlier, but it is a bit more expensive than I would prefer to spend on a cleanser. But if it's something that I can readily get at the drugstore, doesn't break the bank, and it doesn't make me hate removing my makeup, to me that's a pretty strong win. So I think I likely will pick this up just way into the future. The next item that I want to talk about is the new Unreal Liquid Blush by Hourglass. And really, there's perhaps only 2 things that I really have to say about this. One, for whatever reason, I love the component, and I can't figure out why. I don't know if it just looks particularly chic. Maybe it's because it's not used yet, and so there's just a very clear delineation between each component within the component. I suspect that's what it is. But again, going back to what I said earlier about the Louboutin lip oil, I'm never going to purchase something just because of the component itself. Also, I think the colors that they released are fine. There's kind of maybe a purple adjacent color. Looks almost like a dark berry, perhaps that's how it could best be described. But it's not the color it's not the purple that I want. So I won't be purchasing it. Additionally, I don't see a price listed here. Hourglass is traditionally quite expensive, so not the right color, not the right company, not the right price point, so I won't be purchasing. Next, I want to talk about the Lip Oil Balm Conditioning Lip Oil by Salt Air. I've never heard of this company before, and on this post, it doesn't actually say where you can purchase these, but they're said to be $9, and I think that's an excellent price point for a lip oil. Love it even more if it was a couple dollars cheaper, but I think $9 for a lip oil is pretty solid. I also quite like the top 3 colors. Again, they're bright, vibrant, poppy, fun for the summer. So I just have to imagine if you're in the market for a lip oil and you don't want to spend $69 on a Louboutin lip oil, this one is probably perfectly fine. The next product that I want to talk about are the liquid blushes by ColourPop. So I think this is pretty obviously trying to be a dupe for the Rare Beauty blushes, and perhaps at some point in the future I'll do a video specifically on my thoughts surrounding dupes. But what I will say is at one point in time I did own the like the cherry red liquid blush by Rare Beauty, and I really liked it. It was like the one solidly red blush that I owned. For the most part, the blushes that I own are either pink, orange, coral, and then I have one purple blush. So that was my one red blush. And I didn't have it for that long, and one day I went to use it, it smelled awful. And I was like, did it, like, I can't quite remember if it always smelled like this, maybe I'm mistaken, but I didn't really feel comfortable putting it on my face. So I didn't use it, and I was like, okay, you know what, I'll wait a couple months, see if the smell gets any worse, and if it does, I'll toss it then. So that's what I did. I waited a couple months, and I went to smell it, and it smelled awful. Like, I can't even describe to you, it smelled gross. So I threw it out, and I find it so strange because I didn't have it that long. None of the other cream or liquid products in my collection has gone off like that. So it's not like I was storing it in a location that was particularly conducive to creating bacteria, for example. And I was really disappointed with that. And it kind of turned me off of Rare Beauty as a brand for whatever reason. And I haven't replaced that like bright red blush. That's another one that I'm kind of considering. I really would prefer to have the purple cream blush before replacing a red liquid blush. But all of that to say, I'm not mad that ColourPop duped the Rare Beauty blushes, primarily because of my experience with the Rare Beauty blush. That said, the colors that they released, there's 3 that I think are nice. The third one in the top row and the last 2 in the bottom row. The others are doing that kind of Kim Kardashian-esque shade range, which is just very, very neutral, which is fine. It's just not for me. These are $10. I love to see it. It seems to have a whole bunch of skincare benefits. I've said before, I don't need skincare in my makeup. I have a skincare routine for that, so that's neither here nor there for me. And I don't think I've seen anyone review this just yet. I feel like I've seen a few people receive it and like unbox it on Instagram, but I don't think I've seen anybody actually put it on their face just yet. So I am kind of curious to see what other people think of these, if they're just as pigmented as the Rare Beauty ones or not. But there isn't a shade for me here, so I won't be purchasing it. Okay, the next 2 things, which is really about to be one thing that I want to talk about, are the eyeshadow palettes from Cosmic Brushes. So they released 2 20-pan eyeshadow palettes. One is called Neutrals and one is called Cool Trolls. So the Cool Trolls one is perfectly fine. I'm not a blue eyeshadow wearer, so 2/3 of that palette is just a non-starter for me. But that's not the one I want to talk about. The one I want to talk about is the Neutrals palette. I think the Neutrals palette is gorgeous, and I added it to my wish list. In another video, which I'll link down below, I talked about one of the best ways that I think you can save money is to disassociate the feeling of being excited about a product and actually purchasing it. You can be excited about a product and not purchase it. And by putting it on a wish list, you sort of decouple those 2 things. I was quite interested in it, and I was like, you know what? It's been a very long time since I've purchased an eyeshadow palette, so I don't know if this is like the one to break that streak. So let me add it to my wish list, and if I'm still feeling it like a couple months from now, I'll consider purchasing it. And I have to say that since I've added it, I have since taken it off. There's really one main reason for this. I think the price is right. It's 28, I think that's euros, which I believe is roughly 28 American, which means it's probably 36-ish Canadian. Don't quote me on any of that. They don't have the conversions here on Trendmood. That's just what I think it would be. $36 for a 20 shade eyeshadow palette is perfectly reasonable in my opinion, particularly because my understanding is Cosmic Brushes has a pretty solid formula. But the main reason as to why I didn't purchase this is because of how drawn I am to these colors. It made me think that surely I already have these colors, and I have to say that I do. So in terms of like the neutral mattes, I think everyone and their mother has these neutral mattes, which is not to say they're not gorgeous. They are. I just don't need repeats in my collection. And I love those like kind of mucky green, almost gray yellow colors, particularly in the 3rd row. But I have those colors. Because I like them so much, I purposely went out and purchased singles from a company to fill that hole in my collection years ago. So I don't need to fill it again. I already have what I need to do that. And I absolutely love the multi-chromes that are in this eyeshadow palette. But again, those multi-chromes are ones that I have very specifically sought out previously. And I bought them and I own them. So I don't need 2 copies of the same thing. So although I think this palette is absolutely stunning, and had I seen it 5 years ago, I wouldn't say I would absolutely have purchased it, but it would be a much, much stronger contender. But I have my collection, I just have my collection. So I don't need to repeat it. I don't need to purchase it, but I love to see it. I think this is a gorgeous palette. Very briefly, I'll touch on the Blurring Serum blush by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I don't understand the component here. I think it looks cool, but in terms of precision application, I don't think of that when I think of putting on my blush. When I think of blush, I'm thinking of like diffusing color onto my cheeks. So I don't know why I would need to apply it with something that basically looks like a needle. I also just think the colors here are boring. Like, they're fine, but they're boring. You can get these colors in a liquid blush from 27 companies already. So if you weren't compelled before, I highly doubt that Anastasia Beverly Hills has the formula to knock your socks off at this point in time. So the next item that I want to talk about is the Too Faced Born This Way Soft Matte Foundation Oil Controlling Formula plus 24-hour wear. I'm going to read the description because this basically hits all the points that I'm looking for when I purchase foundation. It says, Smooths skin's appearance and helps control oil without dryness for waterproof, sweat, and humidity-resistant wear. The lightweight, color-true formula delivers 24-hour coverage that seamlessly covers imperfections, revealing skin that appears naturally flawless. Buildable, medium to full coverage, soft matte finish, $46, 30 shades. A couple things I want to mention here. I already own 5 foundations, and by foundations I mean anything that I put on my face in a large amount. So that includes like tinted moisturizers as well. All 5 of those are liquid, and I don't wear foundation all the time. So I'm concerned about being able to finish up the 5 that I already own before they go off, particularly because I haven't bought any in probably, I'll say at least 2 years, but probably coming up on 3 years. So it clearly takes me a while to go through them. So I won't be purchasing this anytime soon. That said, I like all of the claims that are made when it comes to this product. I feel like I haven't seen too many reviews in terms of Too Faced and their foundations and whether or not they're good or not. I feel like $46 is relatively steep, particularly because it's $46 American, which I imagine probably means it's going to be like 60 Canadian. And 60 Canadian for a foundation is just probably double what I really want to spend on a foundation. And lastly, I just have to say, the picture that's in the bottom left of the Trendmood post looks so weird to me. Like, it looks like a blush, and I can't, they did something weird with this picture because it doesn't actually match any of the shades that are shown in the swatches. I don't know what's going on there. When I originally saw this, I was like, oh, they're releasing a foundation and a blush. But no, they're just releasing a foundation. So I don't know what's going on with that picture. But all of that to say, I think the product itself, if it does what it says it will do, would likely be really great for me. But I'm not in the market to be purchasing any foundations anytime soon. And the last item that I want to talk about is the Conceal and Perfect Sun-Kissed Liquid Bronzing Drops by Milani. As I said in another video, and I can't remember which one, and this is a bit of a hot take, I feel like bronzing is a completely unnecessary step. When I see people bronze their face, I can't tell before and after that there's actually been a difference. Maybe that's just me. I'm sure there are some people who are like, what? Bronzing is like the most important step in my routine. What are you saying? I just personally don't get it. And liquids are just more difficult to deal with than a powder. So having a step that I consider unnecessary, also having that step be in a liquid format, means that this is just a non-starter for me. That said, I feel like I haven't seen that many drugstore companies, if any drugstore companies, come out with a liquid bronzing drop. I think e.l.f. did perhaps a month or 2 ago, but beyond that, I'm not sure if I can think of any others. So I don't hate this release. It's just clearly not for me, not for someone who thinks that bronzing is just unnecessary, let alone doing it with a liquid. It is $17, which is a bit on the pricier side. That's definitely getting into like kind of mid-range. And Milani has, at least in my experience, been historically on the pricier end of drugstore makeup. But if these work, they look perfectly lovely, and I'm sure they're like a third of the price of what you could get at Sephora from like Drunk Elephant or whatever. So I think that's all I have to talk about today. I've been coughing throughout this video, so if you hear me come back and my voice has like changed a little bit, it's probably because I just had a coughing fit for about 45 seconds. So I appreciate your patience as I've tried to make my way through this video with an ounce of grace. If you like this content, I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to do more than that, I'll have a few links in the description that you can use to support me even further. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What are some releases that have come out recently that have caught your eye, but you're not going to purchase? And before I go, I'd like to take a minute to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope you'll be back again soon. Bye!